The notification chimed while I was making dinner on what should have been an ordinary Tuesday evening. My aunt had sent me a video message. Nothing unusual there. She was always sharing random family clips or funny memes she'd found online. I wiped my hands on a kitchen towel and picked up my phone, absent-mindedly tapping the message. At first I expected to see her usual content, maybe an old family photo or a video of her cat doing something ridiculous. Instead, what I heard made my blood turn to ice. Emma should be grateful. My mother's voice drifted through the phone speaker, crystal clear despite the shaky camera angle. She'd be nothing without us. My stomach dropped. The video appeared to be filmed accidentally, like someone had set their phone down without realizing it was recording. But the voices, God, the voices were unmistakable. A pathetic failure, that's what Emma is, my father added with a chuckle that felt like a knife twisting in my chest. But at least she's good for something, paying our bills. Laughter erupted from multiple voices. I gripped my phone tighter, my knuckles white against the case. If Emma ever stopped sending money, my aunt said, the same aunt who had just sent me this video, we'd just guilt her into it. She's too soft to say no. The room spun around me. My name. They were saying my name. This wasn't some hypothetical conversation or dark humor about someone else. They were talking about me, the daughter who had spent years sacrificing her own financial security to keep them afloat. I had been their safety net for so long, covering rent payments, emergency expenses, and every crisis that seemed to conveniently arise right after payday. I thought I was being a good daughter, a loving family member. I thought they appreciated my help. Suddenly, the video disappeared. "This message has been unsent," appeared on my screen. My aunt had realized her mistake. She must have panicked, frantically deleting the evidence and probably praying I hadn't seen it. But I had seen it, every devastating second of it. I should have confronted her immediately, should have called them all out, demanded an explanation, let them know their secret was exposed. Instead, I set my phone down with trembling hands and made a different choice. I was going to let them think they'd gotten away with it. The words kept echoing in my mind as I sat in my darkened kitchen, dinner forgotten on the stove. Pathetic failure. Too soft to say no. She'd be nothing without us. Each phrase felt like a physical blow, but underneath the hurt was something else. A cold, calculating anger. They weren't wrong about one thing. I was too soft to say no. How many times had they guilt-tripped me into helping them? How many times had I put my own financial goals on hold to cover their emergencies? My father's temporary financial struggles had turned into me covering his rent for 3 years. My brother's college tuition, for a degree he never even finished. My mother's endless emergencies that always seemed to coincide perfectly with my paydays. I had done it all without hesitation because that's what family was supposed to do, right? Support each other through tough times. But that video shattered every illusion I had about their gratitude, their love, their respect for me. They thought they had gotten away with their cruel honesty. My aunt was probably breathing a sigh of relief, maybe even reassuring the others. Don't worry, Emma didn't see it. But I had seen it, and in just a few days their next payment request would arrive like clockwork. This time things were going to be very different. The next morning arrived with deceptive normalcy. The sun still filtered through my curtains, my coffee still brewed perfectly, but everything felt different. It was like I was seeing my life from the outside for the first time, recognizing patterns I'd been blind to for years. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Morning, sweetie. Just checking in. Hope you're doing well." I stared at the text, noting how artificially cheerful it sounded. Mom never texted just to check in. There was always an agenda, always a request lurking beneath the surface pleasantries. Sure enough, a few minutes later, "Oh, by the way, rent is due soon. Can you send it by Friday?" There it was, the same cycle, the same pattern. But this time, I wasn't going to play along. My usual response would have been immediate and accommodating. "Of course," or "no problem." Maybe I'd even apologize for any perceived delay in my response. Not today. I typed slowly, deliberately. "I can't this month." My finger hovered over the send button for a moment before I pressed it. Then I set my phone down and waited. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes. Then, Buzz. What do you mean you can't? I could practically feel her frustration radiating through the screen. I had never said no before, not once in all these years. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I took a slow sip of my coffee, letting her marinate in her confusion. More messages began flooding in. Emma, this is serious. We're counting on you. You know we don't have another option right now. Then my aunt chimed in. Hey, sweetie, your mom is freaking out. Is everything okay? Is everything okay? I almost laughed out loud. Sure, everything was fantastic. I had just discovered my family saw me as nothing more than a walking ATM. But hey, at least the weather was nice. I took a deep breath and crafted my response. I have some unexpected expenses this month. I can't send anything. Sorry. Short, simple. No elaborate explanations or apologies. Just a boundary. Something I'd never dared establish before. The silence that followed was deafening. For the first time in years, I had said no, and they didn't know how to handle it. I watched the three little dots appear and disappear on my screen repeatedly. My mother was typing, stopping, typing again. I could imagine her sitting there seething, trying to craft the perfect manipulation. Finally, her response came through. What do you mean unexpected expenses? What could possibly be more important than your family? The guilt trip had begun, right on schedule. You know your brother has no way to cover rent. If he gets kicked out, that's on you. Ah, the brother card. Classic. We raised you, Emma. We took care of you when you had nothing. Is this how you repay us? My jaw clenched as I read those words. When I had nothing, they never took care of me. I had put myself through school, worked 3 jobs to escape that house, and the moment I achieved any financial success, they latched onto me like parasites. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my aunt. Emma, sweetheart, don't do this. We're family. Your mom is just upset. You know how she gets. Just send the rent and everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. Fine for whom? I set my phone down, my heart pounding. I needed a moment to collect myself. Walking to the kitchen, I poured a glass of water and took slow, deliberate sips while staring at the clock on the wall. Something was shifting inside me. For years, I had been terrified of this exact moment, scared that if I ever stopped paying, they would hate me, cut me off, turn their backs on me. But now I realized the truth. They had never really loved me at all. They loved what I could provide. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my father. Emma, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this is unacceptable. You're being selfish. This family needs you, and you're acting like some entitled brat. Grow up and do the right thing. There it was, the final mask slipping away. No more fake sweetness, no more pretending to care. Just demands wrapped in insults. Then another notification appeared, a voice message from my aunt. My hands trembled as I stared at the little play button. Something told me this was going to change everything. I pressed play, and her voice filled the room, sharp and impatient, stripped of all pretense. Emma, listen, I don't know what kind of game you think you're playing, but this isn't funny. Your mother is losing her mind, your dad is furious, and honestly, I don't blame them. You've always been, well, a little ungrateful, but this is beyond selfish. My stomach tightened, but I forced myself to keep listening. You have a good job, don't you? You make more than any of us. You don't even need that money. Meanwhile, your family is struggling, and what? You just wake up one day and decide you don't care anymore? A bitter laugh escaped her lips through the phone. You owe them, Emma. After everything they've done for you, after all the sacrifices they made, they gave you life, and now you're just going to walk away? Pretend they don't exist? What kind of daughter does that? Her tone darkened, becoming colder. You know what? If you really want to be that kind of person, fine. But don't expect them to forgive you. Don't expect to come crawling back when you realize how much you need them. Because once you cross this line, there's no coming back. The message ended. Silence filled my apartment. I should have felt scared. I should have panicked, should have been scrambling to make things right. Instead, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Freedom. Because she had just confirmed everything. They didn't love me. They didn't respect me. They didn't even see me as a person, just a bank account with emotions they could manipulate. My phone buzzed one final time. My mother. Last chance, Emma. Send the rent. I stared at those words for a long moment. Then, without hesitation, I blocked her number. I blocked my father. I blocked my aunt. Just like that, for the first time in years, I was free. Or so I thought. The next morning, someone was pounding on my door. The sound jolted me awake. Aggressive, demanding knocks that echoed through my apartment. It was barely sunrise, the kind of early morning when normal people were still asleep. For a moment, I considered ignoring it. Maybe it was a neighbor with an emergency or a package delivery. Maybe it was anything other than what I knew it probably was. The knocking came again, louder and more insistent. I took a deep breath, steeling myself, and walked to the door. When I opened it, my brother stood there looking like he hadn't slept in days. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair disheveled, and his eyes were bloodshot and wild. "Are you serious, Emma?" His voice cut through the morning air like a blade. "What the hell is wrong with you?" "Good morning to you too, Jason," I replied, keeping my voice steady. He scoffed, running his hands through his already messy hair. "Don't do that. Don't act like this isn't a big deal. You blocked everyone. Mom is freaking out. Dad's losing his mind. You're just, what? Cutting us off? Pretending we don't exist?" I crossed my arms, leaning against the door frame. Maybe I just got tired of being treated like a piggy bank. His jaw clenched. "Oh my God, not this again. Not this again." I let out a bitter laugh. "Jason, I've been paying your rent for years. I've covered your bills, your food, even your gym membership. And the one time I say no, the one time I set a boundary, Mom calls me a selfish brat, Dad says I'm unacceptable, and you show up at my door like I've committed a crime." He opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. "And don't try to pretend you care about me," I continued. "I saw the video." His face went pale. For the first time, real fear flashed in his eyes. "What video?" I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You know exactly what video, Jason." He shifted uncomfortably, glancing away. "Look, that wasn't serious, okay? We were just joking. You're being dramatic." "Joking?" My voice was quiet now, but sharp as glass. "You all sat around laughing, calling me a pathetic failure, saying I should be grateful for the chance to pay your bills. Do you know what that feels like, Jason? To hear your own family talk about you like that?" He exhaled harshly, rubbing his face. "Emma, come on." "No," I cut him off. "You come on. You want money? Get a job. You want someone to take care of you? Find someone else. Because I'm done." We stood there in silence, staring at each other. For a second, I saw something flicker across his face, something raw and vulnerable. But it was gone just as quickly. "You don't mean that," he muttered. I held his gaze. "Yes, I do." His expression hardened, his mouth twisting into something ugly. "Fine," he spat. "You want to be a selfish bitch? Go ahead. But don't come crawling back when you realize you have no one left." With that, he turned and walked away. I stood there watching him go, my chest tight but my spine straight. Because he was wrong. I did have someone left. I had myself. As I closed the door, my phone buzzed again. My mother's name flashed on the screen, but I wasn't going to answer. Not this time. I had been at her mercy for too long. Her demands, her guilt trips, the way she'd weaponized my own sense of responsibility against me. Not anymore. I turned the phone face down and walked away. The truth was, I was done. Done being the constant source of money, the safety net that kept my family afloat when they couldn't be bothered to build their own lives. Done with the lies and manipulation. They had never once asked how I was doing, never once considered the toll it took on me to constantly pick up their slack. I had carried their weight for years, and they had repaid me with mockery behind my back. But my decision didn't go unnoticed for long. That evening, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. I wasn't just going to fade quietly into the background. If they wanted to paint me as the villain, I was going to make sure they understood exactly what they were losing. I gathered every financial record I could find, every payment I'd made for their bills, every bank transfer, every check I'd sent over the years to bail them out of their mistakes. It was time to show them the true cost of their cruelty. I crafted an email with surgical precision. Here's a detailed summary of everything I've done for you over the years. I'm done being your lifeline. I'll no longer be your ATM, and I'll no longer let you make me feel guilty for choosing myself. Consider this my final accounting. You don't owe me anything anymore, but you owe yourselves the realization of how much I've sacrificed, all because I thought family was supposed to help each other, not drain each other. I attach every receipt, every record of payment, every documentation of their financial dependence on me. Then I sent it, but I wasn't finished. I logged into our family group chat, the same chat where they used to coordinate their guilt trips and complaints. I scrolled through months of messages where they'd manipulated me into helping them, where they'd made me feel responsible for their poor choices. Then I typed my final message. You all talk a lot about what you've done for me, but you've forgotten how much I've given up for you. Here's the reality check you never wanted. You never needed me. You just used me. I'm done. This is my last message. Don't ever contact me again. I sent it and immediately left the group chat. The silence that followed was sweeter than any revenge I could have imagined. No more phone calls begging for money. No more guilt trips about family obligations. No more pretending that their love came with conditions I could never quite meet. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Jason. You're making a mistake, Emma. You'll regret this. Family sticks together. I smiled to myself as I turned off my phone for the night. He was wrong again. Real family doesn't stick together through manipulation and financial abuse. Real family supports each other without keeping score. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I could live for myself, make my own choices, build my own future without constantly looking over my shoulder for the next emergency that would drain my bank account. It wasn't the dramatic confrontation I had once imagined. There were no screaming matches, no soap opera theatrics. Instead, it was quiet, deliberate, and infinitely more satisfying. I had taken control of my life, and the best part was this. They never saw it coming. As I settled into bed that night, a profound sense of peace washed over me. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need to play their games or dance to their demands. I was finally free to discover who I was when I wasn't busy being everyone else's safety net. And that, in the end, was the sweetest victory of all.